fantastical friends. So today's video is going to be Bookmas Day 9. I have Willow here with me. She's on the bed. So if you hear her moving around here, that's what it is. It's Willow. She's just chilling out here on the bed. Good girl. Good girl. Anyway, so here, let's turn the camera briefly so you guys can see. Yeah, see her there? Yeah, she's just chilling. So, okay, so today's video is going to be a list of the very best books that I read in 2020. I read quite a lot of books throughout this year. Not just because of, the current world situation, but also just simply because I had set my Goodreads goal to 100 books to read during the year. Did I meet it? I don't know. I know I read a lot of books. I know I didn't rate or record all of them on Goodreads, which is why having a reading journal for this coming year is going to be so handy, because I find that I'm more likely to record my reviews and stuff, my ratings and that on paper, and then go back and put them into Goodreads later. I just don't find, even on my iPad and on my phone, I just don't find Goodreads very user-friendly. So note to Goodreads, if you guys see this, consider revamping your interface to make it more user-friendly. That's one of the things I've noticed about it. It can be kind of hard to find what you're looking for. So definitely making it more user-friendly would be something to consider going forward. But anyways, yes, today's video is going to be a list of the best books that I read in 2020. Now note, these are books that I read in 2020, and these are not necessarily books that were released in 2020. And also, what, baby? She's gonna fall asleep here. And also, usual disclaimer, these are my personal opinions. You don't have to agree with me, but it's the internet, and the internet is weird, and so I have to say it. My personal opinions only. You don't have to agree. If you do, great. If you don't, that's fine too. But whether you do or you don't, I would absolutely love to discuss these books and what you are currently reading down in the comments below. So please, please, please pop those comments down below, and please stay through to the end and watch this video. Yeah, because at the end of the video I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the things that are going to be happening on this channel in 2021. And also, if you don't yet follow me on Instagram, please do. My Instagram handle is @LittleBatBooks. Also check out my social media and my husband's social media, which will all be linked down below. Okay, without further ado, let's just get into the video. So, the first book, I'm going to start with my current read, and that is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. This book is unlike anything else I have ever read. I love the fact that in the first few pages, she starts out and she really pulls you into the story and makes you feel like you are there. Erin Morgenstern's writing is gorgeous. It just pulls you in, and it really makes you feel like you are there. You can smell everything, you can taste everything, you can feel everything, and it's really incredible. Also, I love circuses, magic shows, Cirque du Soleil, anything like that. I live for it. I love it. I've always been absolutely fascinated by it, and magicians and things like that. I've been fascinated by that always. So something that combines, and I also like a decent fantasy romance, so sometimes. So something that combines a kind of a lighter fantasy romance against the backdrop of this twisted game and this circus that only comes at night. This is everything that I love in a fantasy novel. This is so beautiful, and oh my god. And this cover, I love it. I'm loving it upon my reread. Last time I read it, I gave it 5 stars, and I am rereading it, and I think it's going to be 5 stars again because I love it so much. Okay, next up we have, of course, The Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. Now, when I originally went into this fantasy, I wasn't entirely sure about it, but it really surprised me. And I think this fantasy kind of gets a bad rap because it came out during a time when there was this big push towards more diverse authors. And not that that's a bad thing, but I feel like, I don't know, I personally feel like it's gotten to be a little bit of overkill, but that's a whole other discussion. But the thing is, though, is that she came out at a time when there was this big push towards very diverse authors. And I feel like because of that, sorry, not so much diverse authors, racially diverse authors, I should say. Not just authors with any kind of diversity, but racially diverse authors. And so, because of that, I feel like she kind of got left in the dust. But this book really surprised me. I thought it was an incredibly creative and original story. I thought that the main character was incredibly flawed, and that was one of the very many things that I loved about her. She was flawed in a way that wasn't irritating to me. I find some flawed characters, they irritate me greatly because they're, you know, either only based on revenge or only based on, like, or just, like, trying to be cool and edgy, and it's just really, it doesn't do it for me. But this character was really truly flawed, and inside she is a good person. And that was just, the whole dichotomy of that was beautiful. I loved everything about this book. I loved the writing, I loved the world, I loved the kind of idea about the red and the silver blood. I loved the royalty aspect and how she really shows kind of some of the things that can go on behind closed doors, and that royalty is not always everything that it seems. And I love that about this. I love that there is so much political intrigue, and all the characters are flawed in one way or another. And I love that about this book. There are no perfect characters, and I think that is such a beautiful thing. Is it a 5-star read? Was it life-changing for me? No. But it is definitely a 4-star good, 3.5 to 4-star good solid read. I would definitely recommend it. And it is one of the best books that I have read this year in 2020. So please don't ignore her. Just don't ignore this book and these characters just because the author who created them at a time when, you know, being a typical Caucasian author wasn't trendy. Or, you know, it not so much that it wasn't trendy, but it wasn't the thing that where the big push was going towards. I think you guys know what I'm talking about. I'm sorry if that's coming out wrong. But yeah, it wasn't something that was uber popular during that time. Don't let that dissuade you. Don't let the fact that this is a Caucasian author dissuade you. Don't let the fact that, you know, the story seems very typical on the surface dissuade you, because underneath it's not. It is not a typical story, and it's so beautiful, and I love it so much. Really, I do. Definite 3.5, 4-star, good solid read. Gorgeous world building, A1 world building. Fantastic read. What are you doing over there? Miss Monkey, do you want to come here? Do you want to come say hi? Do you want to say hello to everybody? Okay. Yeah, look over here. And look over here. Say hello, everybody. Say hello. Say hello. She is so weirded out by the camera. She's like, huh? My mom's just finishing up vacuuming. It's okay. That's a good girl. Yes. Yes, you're a good girl. You are. And I love you very much. I do. I love you very much. Okay. So, yeah. So getting into the next greatest book that I read in 2020, and that is, of course, Criers War by Nina Varela. I loved this book. Definitely 4 stars, 3.5, 4 stars. Again, great, solid read. I did a whole review on this book, so you can go and watch that on my channel if you want to hear more of my thoughts. But to sum it up quite quickly, this book shows that prejudice can go both ways, which I think is a really important message. It has LGBTQ rep, which I think we definitely need more of. It also has, it doesn't have direct autism representation, but Crier definitely reminds me a lot of myself as an autistic person. I can relate very much to her, and some of the prejudice and stigma that she suffers, and the oppression that she suffers. And I think that, you know, Ayla kind of is the one who, you know, Ayla is meant to be the, like, oppressed character, but Crier also suffers some forms of oppression, and I can definitely relate to that. So, yeah, I truly enjoyed this book. I thought it was a brilliant fantasy story. I thought the romance was very predictable, but I did think that it was very well done. The slow burn romance, I kind of knew from the beginning where that was going to end up, but I definitely felt like the romance was very well done. I felt like the relationship was gorgeously portrayed in this, and I felt like the world was beautiful, and the writing style was gorgeous, and I really enjoyed it. There were a few things pacing wise that I wasn't the hugest fan of, but other than that, yeah, that's basically my thoughts. 3.5, 4 stars. Very much enjoyed. If you want to hear more about my thoughts, go watch my review video for Criers War. But yes, Criers War by Nina Varela, highly recommend. Okay. Moving right along. Did I pull that one off the shelf even? No, I didn't. Okay. Excuse me, guys. Just a moment. I'm just going to pull this other book off the shelf. Okay, guys. So next up, we have, of course, Tarnished Are the Stars by Rosie Thor. This book is incredible. It is one of the only books that has made me cry in a very long time. This and Existing Autistic by Megan Rhiannon. But this book had a scene in it that made me cry. And that is something that has not happened to me in a very long time. It has a character in this book that I absolutely fell in love with so much. And when that character dies, anyway, this character really meant a lot to me. And all the characters mean a lot to me, of course, but this character especially. And I can't even, this book made me cry and really got to me in my heart in a way that a book has not done in a very long time. It also has some very important LGBTQ discussions in it. It has LGBTQ rep, which I love. And it also has asexual representation, which I think is really, really important. We don't see that enough in fantasy, so I thought that was gorgeously done. I felt like just everything about this book was beautifully done. I felt like the world was perfect. I felt like, honestly, it couldn't have been written better. This was a 5-star for me. Everything about it was and is just incredible. It breaks your heart and fixes it again in all the best ways. And that honestly couldn't be more true. This book means so much to me, and I love it so much. So okay, we have to move on before I start crying. Okay, so the next book that I want to, but yes, highly recommend that book. So the next book that I want to recommend to you guys, this was another 5-star read, and this contains one of my book husbands. If you don't know what a book husband or a book wife is, it's basically, you've seen those videos on YouTube where booktubers will talk about their book boyfriends or their book crushes, basically characters from books that they are crushing on or that they would date if they were real people. So me and my husband always joke that we have I have my real husband, and then I have my book husbands, which are characters who I feel like I could marry or would marry. They have qualities that I like. Characters who I am very much in love with. So we always joke that I have my real husband and then I have my book husbands, and same with him. We're trying to find him a book wife, and that is one of the adventures that we are going on together, trying to find him his book wife, which requires him reading a lot of books to find her. So it's very exciting. Anyway, moving right into this. So this contains one of my book husbands, which is, of course, Kel. And this book gave me all the feels. It's an incredible fantasy adventure. It is breathtaking. It is a fantasy adventure that it just knocks the wind out of you and keeps going. And if you don't keep up, you're going to be left behind. It is fast-paced. Your heart is racing a lot of the time. It does have its slower, more relaxed moments, just like real life, but a lot of it is this very, very heart-pounding, in terms of like nerves. Like you feel like you need to keep reading because you need to know what's going to happen. And I love the fact that there is no insta-love in this. This is not an insta-love situation. I love that fact. I love that the two characters who I'm hoping are going to fall for each other, my book husband and, of course, Lila Bard, I'm hoping they do end up falling for each other. I'm here for it. But the fact that it doesn't happen in this first book, I think, is really, really great. And the fact that you honestly don't know if it's going to happen. Like, when you read this first book, you don't know if the two of them are going to get together. Some books you read and you're like, you know what? Yeah, they're going to end up together. It's just, it's obvious from the first, few pages or even few chapters that that's how it's going to end up. That doesn't happen here. And I love that. I love how there's such a foundation being built for this relationship. And I feel, if it occurs, I don't even know if it's going to happen, but if it does, I will be so happy because there's such a foundation that's being built in this book. I love how it explores sort of the dichotomy of good and evil, and how, you know, things that are, you know, good aren't always necessarily all good, and things that are bad aren't necessarily all bad either. But yet, good and bad is a matter of perception. It's subjective. But yet, at the same time, there are things that you have to do and rules that you have to abide by in order to live a functional life. You know, there are some you know, sacrifices that you have to make in order to live in community with other people. And this really explores that. In some ways, Lila reminds me of me. Not in a lot of ways, but in some ways she does. And I just really, really enjoyed this book. I love how much Kel and Lila teach each other over the course of the book. I love Prince Rye. I love Rye and Kel's parents. I love how all of and everything, how it all comes together and makes sense by the end of the book, but yet it still leaves you hungry, wanting more. I loved the talk about magic and power, and how magic, you know, in some ways is like a living thing. I loved the ideas about power and balance, and just really appreciating this need for balance. I just, as a Libra as well, I'm always striving for balance, and I loved this book. It took my breath away. It gave me all the feels. It made me happy. It made me sad. It made me angry. It made me just, it took me on the full spectrum of emotions, and I loved it for that. I really, really, really did, and it really helped me to kind of fall in love with reading again, and I will always be grateful to this book for that. Okay, the next and last, that book was a 5-star, by the way, in case you couldn't tell. The last book on my best books I've read in 2020. Now keep in mind, these are not all the books I read in 2020, okay? These, I had to narrow it down to 6 to keep this video fairly short, and trust me, it was hard. But the last best book that I read in 2020 was, I actually don't even have my copy here because I lent it to my dad, but that, of course, was Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. I still have my copy of Crooked Kingdom here. My brother actually got me the box set for Christmas, which I am beyond excited about, because that means I will have a set, and I can actually give this set to my husband, which I'm going to do. So anyway, honey, if you're watching this video, just, yeah, you were supposed to hear that. Don't worry, I'll tell you to just sort of skip through this part of the video. But in either case, Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. Oh my god, the character work in this book. The disability rep right here, beautiful, fantastic. The disability rep in this book is huge, and I am here for it. We need more disability representation in books. We need characters that are, you know, physically disabled, mentally disabled, blind, deaf, mute. You know, we need characters with selective mutism and schizophrenia and Tourette's and borderline personality disorder and epilepsy and autism. Not with autism, sorry, people who are autistic. Sorry, that was a slip of the tongue. I was just mentioning it in the slew, but slip of the tongue. But people who are autistic, people who are ADHDers, people who are spoonies in in other ways. We need books like this, and we definitely need more autistic characters and books by autistic authors, but that's a separate discussion. But the point is that this book has a disabled character, and that is beautiful. I am so happy to see that. It gets me every time. There's also really good addiction representation in this book, which I think is so important, because I feel like addiction isn't something that is explored in fantasy enough. I feel like it's explored a lot in contemporary, and more often than not, I feel like it's kind of explored in kind of a guilt trippy sort of way, towards other people. And I really don't like the way that addiction is portrayed a lot in contemporary. I don't like contemporary anyway, but in fantasy though, addiction isn't really explored that much, and I loved the way that it is explored in Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom. Oh my goodness. And just the heist, the adventure that they go on. I didn't know if they were going to be able to do it. By the end, I was on the edge of my seat, like, and this group of ragtag characters coming together, and this slow burn romance that doesn't go all the way. I love that about this. I love it when a romance doesn't go all the way. Some people say, "Oh, well, it's YA, and I don't like YA because it's afraid to go all the way." I've heard some reviewers say that, but I don't think it's so much that it's afraid to go all the way, as more that it just doesn't need to go all the way. I feel like with YA, it's kind of leaving it up to the imagination of the reader, and I love that. I love that it's giving these characters that privacy. I feel like characters they're essentially real people within the context of the story, and they deserve privacy just like anyone else. So I feel like this is that may sound weird to you guys, and I'm sorry if it does, but oh my goodness, this is so just beautifully done at 5 stars all the way around, and just I couldn't have done it better. Couldn't have done Six of Crows better. The first chapter with Juiced, I know some people think that should have been cut because they think that chapter was kind of unnecessary, or it kind of made it feel like, what are we getting into? I didn't feel that way at all. I loved it. I thought it was a great introduction to this world. I loved how she started out with these characters that were kind of just on the side view. You kind of got a bit of a side view as to what was going on, and you got a little bit of context to kind of introduce you to the world and pull you in to the world before you get introduced to the main characters, instead of being introduced to the main character and the world at the same time, like right off the bat. I loved that. I thought that was fantastically done, and I don't think Leigh Bardugo could have done better, honestly. I think it's just perfect. So yeah, 5 stars all the way around. Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. Fantastic adventure. And that is it for the best books that I read in 2020. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Stay safe and stay cozy, and I will see you all next time. Alright guys, bye!